can start your,
Right.
whenever you're ready, sir. There are agendas and a copy of Mike's notes up on this table if anybody wants them.
Well, let's do the, call to order and roll call. You want to do the roll call?
Sure. Roger Mullendorf, absent. Mary Del Gunn.
Here.
Beth Graham, absent. Rod.
Here.
Sarah, I'm here. Ann. I'm here. And Luke.
Here.
All right. We have enough to commence.
All right. Citizen comments, 3-minute maximum. Anybody have a citizen comment?
I want to do a 1 to 2 minute update. I can leave you these. No.
Great.
On the tennis courts. So you probably remember maybe that there's 2 phases to this project. The first one being Field School Park. And Mike's not here, is he? I'm not totally current on that, but, they've excavated 2 spots and filled. I think your city
Yeah,
crew has.
that's down there, so they found that, compacted, and I think it's getting paved tomorrow.
Yeah, repaved 6-5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the patches.
There you go.
Patches.
This is his comment,
Yeah.
and that's his,
Okay,
Working
okay,
on it,
well,
hot
if you
heavy.
have them, that's good, I wasn't current. So, phase 2 is the new courts, so the U.S. Tennis Association has accepted our application, and they will be doing concept plans for us. As soon as I get them, fill out a questionnaire and get them some pictures. And, there's an account set up, 2 accounts at, the Community Foundation, one for each phase of the project. The web pages are set up so you can go in and donate to either one or both. So it seems like we've reached a good, cooperative situation on the 2 projects. And, so yeah, okay, this is great. And is this an extra?
Yep, that's yours.
Terrific. So unless you have any questions, that's all I wanted to,
If you wanted to stick around for a couple minutes, because we have the address conversation on here too, and the
Okay.
guy who does the addresses is
okay,
behind
I
you,
have
so
another meeting at 6:30, but I can stay for a
we
while.
won't be that long.
Okay, yeah, thank you, thanks. Oh, Barb back for the record.
Thanks, Barb.
Yeah.
I've got you from last time too. Thank you for, being consistent with updates.
Any other citizen comments? Hearing none. I guess we'll move on. Action items, approval of consent agenda. May I get a motion?
Can I make a motion to move, agenda item 7, review and finalize draft board bylaws to next month? I was responsible for making the edits in Word, and I volunteered to do that after we had our discussion and failed to take notes on what the edits were. So I need to gather those, and then I'll send them out before next month.
I'll second that motion.
Thanks. And then Roger and Beth will be here too.
So we'll strike 7 and move it to next month. Anybody want to second that? You do
That's all I
second.
did. And did.
Are you counting this
All in
one?
favor?
Oh,
Aye.
that's a good question.
Okay, discussion items, 2025 board priorities completion. Anybody want to start us off on that? Not sure exactly what Roger's intention was there.
I don't know if it was related to the chart that we looked at last week in the document that was put together. Mayor Dave? What's the name of the document that we looked at?
Capital improvements.
Yeah.
Oh, capital improvements.
Yeah,
Oh, is this it?
because we had
Oh.
called out a few changes, I think, that Mike was gonna
I think it's
Yeah.
relay.
I don't think it's the CIP, I think it's just the parks priority.
Right.
Okay.
The CIP, I think, is gonna be the 24th, just FYI.
priority results, maybe that document, I don't know.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah,
Do you wanna,
Well, I emailed Roger a change. I don't know why I thought the interpretive exhibit in Van Dyke needed a new cover, because it doesn't have a cover. I think it's just, you know, the
surface is just getting weathered, but it's still readable, so I took that off. But, I did add, and I think Amy, prior to some of us being on the board, had asked to have the east entrance to the park regraded or somehow made more, not so steep, an descent into the park onto the path there. So maybe that's something that Public Works could look at. And so perhaps that could be added for Van Dyke.
I feel like we've talked about this. Is it not on Mike's radar, do you think?
I don't
Okay,
think so.
so need to maybe.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture
reconfirm.
out which east entrance you're talking about dropping off. I walk that one fairly often and don't.
Well, it's, there's two entrances, right? So one's on the west and one's on the east side of the park.
The one towards the east end has a dip in it,
I think it just
and they were
needs
thinking about wheelchairs.
to be regraded. I think over time, some of the material has gotten washed and it's, you know, it just needs to be redistributed, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what
Or a culvert put in there.
what the grade is, you know, for accessibility, but, it's just something that had been, talked about, you know, in Parks Board meetings, prior to us.
Sounds like a pretty easy fix.
It is.
So just adding that to my priorities. I think that was under make it a task, maybe, instead of do now.
And the other
That's all I have.
priorities, I guess we'll cover a lot of these when we get to the individual parks. And for anybody else that wants, Mike Maples couldn't make it tonight, but he did write down what's going on, and there are some printed copies for anybody else that would like one.
That's the thing when it's
So I'm just trying to catch up here. So was Roger hoping we would go through this priority results document and make changes and agree on the final results, the four topics? Is that what he wants us to do? You know? Because those all, you know, the do now, make it a project, make it a task, forget for now, those seem to be specific spots that have like paths and timeliness of when it should be done or not. So my question is, is that what he wants, is that what he's looking to do? Like, we're gonna all agree, like, this is it. For 2025, we agree, boom, or is it still a work in project? I don't know.
thought we had already agreed, because we like
Okay,
did a whole chart and.
yeah, I'm looking at the priorities results, document. It got sent to me a few days ago, you know, I think she's got a copy right there.
Yeah, I just didn't know if any, I thought this was all already
I thought it was
Approved.
approved,
also
yeah.
approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, you can take this one.
What does
Oh,
it
no,
mean
wait.
then? Board priorities completion,
Exactly, that's what I was
if it's been
wondering.
completed. Maybe he felt like it wasn't quite,
Yeah. Well, and Beth is the one that put the agenda, so maybe it just didn't get, maybe it was supposed to be removed.
Okay.
It didn't, so.
yeah.
I would say we should probably talk about that at the next board meeting, if Roger has something else that he wishes to add to it.
I moved to table, for 2025 board priorities completion until the July meeting.
Yeah, second.
I agree. We moved it last month too, I'm looking at the meeting minutes.
You did?
Moved it later and, yeah.
Kicking that can. Yeah.
It's a,
All in
what do
favor?
they call it, a
Aye.
fluid document.
Okay, Arbor Day event. Mike has updated us on an email this afternoon. He would like to see us pick a date in July. for Arbor Day. Does anybody have any thoughts on an appropriate date?
Probably not Fourth of July weekend.
Right?
Yeah.
between Harley and Fourth of July, Fourth of July and Harley.
Pardon?
A weekend between Fourth of July and the Harley,
Yeah.
and then I guess there's one more weekend at the very end of July.
And I think he wants, he's looking for mid-July at some point. The calendar says.
So July 4th is a Friday. What's Harley weekend, Dan?
It'd be the 20-something, 2 weeks from,
23rd.
yeah.
So then there's,
And then is
the
third one,
12th
the car show.
or the 19th. The 19th is probably the car show, yeah.
I think it's the third one, I'm guessing, so.
So the 12th,
The 12th would probably be the weekend to do it, if we can get the trees in time. Any other thoughts on the 12th?
Yeah, car show is the 25th. Rally is the 19th, so 11th in, that's the Art and the Beartooth. But that's smaller scale.
July 11th.
July, well, 11th is Friday, 12th is Saturday.
Oh, so it's that whole week, next weekend, okay.
should we throw out the 12th, Saturday the 12th for now, and we can confirm if he thinks he can get the trees by?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we agree on the 12th then? Do we need a motion for that, Mayor Dave?
I think if you just do, it is a discussion item, so if you wanted to do a formal motion, you could, otherwise you can just write it down. But I think that's your only Saturday that's really an option in July.
Should we have a backup in case we can't get the trees?
First weekend in August.
Which would be the 2nd, August 2nd. Unless, do we think Harley weekend would really affect that?
Well, I personally don't leave the house, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
you won't have any place to park or,
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, I think yes.
All right.
It's just me.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if they stayed up by the, I don't know.
Not a Harley
They
person?
they do what they can to have them on events outside of town, but there's still a lot of them here, so.
Yeah.
All right. Should I make a motion? I motion that we recommend July 12th as first pick, as long as we can get the trees, and August 2nd as a backup.
Oh, that's Summerfest, isn't it?
Oh,
It is Summerfest, but I don't know if that'll mess it up.
I think that
What's
might
Summerfest?
actually be all right.
The tree planting would happen in the morning.
thank you.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, does anyone know about spot spraying at, Napweed at Van Dyke?
I do not.
Well, through the grapevine, I have heard, that a volunteer with some experience, has offered to spot spray knapweed in the park. I don't know, there's a certain window when you do that, to actually kill the plant, and then it has to be removed at some point. And I don't know, I don't have any dates there. But that's, there is some money available, that was given to, Heroes Steam Center, for weed removal in Van Dyke. It's restricted for that, and so I believe that is the funding that might be used. I don't think it's gonna cost that much, but, you know, just for the, it's not Roundup, it is a different, it just targets that one plant, and it's very selective. 1 or 2 people would do it, so,
Do we know who the volunteer is?
Doug Reynolds.
He'd be good.
Oh, he would know.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering if he shouldn't be talking to Mike.
He did.
He did.
And then he also talked to the county weed person. Mike's on board with it.
So we should be good to go.
County weed person's on board. It's been chilly and wet, and so I don't know what the conditions need to be, but, I've been walking the park almost every day, and, I see dead plants. I don't see, I haven't walked, down the hillside, but, I don't know how much, it looks like all the cheatgrass did not make it through the very cold February that we had. Yeah, not this year anyway.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any new nephweed, coming up yet, so, I don't know what that window is, but, it should happen sometime this month.
There's a lot of knotweed on the face of that hill too.
There is.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to be targeting that eastern side of the park. That's where most of it is, so.
I've had, some other people that are, managing trails for BTRA, or not, it's not BTRA anymore. What is it?
BTA.
BTA.
BT.
BT
I think Beartooth Trail.
Mm-hmm.
Association?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
BTA.
okay.
And they were asking about spraying too, so do you know if can I tell them to reach out to Doug? Or is that a Mike Maples? Do we
Probably
need to
should go
address it on
through-
a city level?
I would go through Mike,
Okay.
because he would be like the keeper of, what's going on, I would say.
Were you gonna say something?
Oh, my husband is involved
Yes,
with the RTA.
yeah, and he's,
I did the
I
same
think-
thing, BTAs, and they've talked to Doug,
right,
I know, and, yeah.
okay, he mentioned your husband as
Okay.
someone who might help him
Great,
with that,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
okay. So maybe they're already connected.
Yeah. I don't know if they've connected with Mike, maybe Doug has, but.
Yeah, I think Doug has, yeah.
Yeah.
We ready to move on? Disc golf. Tom, you're up.
Okay. So I'm,
Do I need to make you a
yeah,
co-chair for a second?
I'm here and I'm also on screen, so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and-
You did not turn on audio, right?
No.
Correct.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and stand. So, the mic can pick me up a little bit better and right off right here. So I'm here today with, my name is Tom Foley, 106 Adams Avenue South, and I'm here today with Melissa Griffith. And I guess we've been chosen to ringlead the disc golf players of Red Lodge. I think mainly just because we've had some experience working with city council and I'm a previous park board member and everything, but anyways, what we really wanna do is just grow the sport. We wanna improve the existing, course that exists in, Coal Miners Park, currently a 12-hole course right now. We'd like to expand it to 18 if we can, with your permission, and do some improvements. Just make it a better course, make it more fun to play for people. So, we gave a presentation back in March. How many of you guys caught that? Because I don't want to read, okay. I'm just going to go through and just give you a quick couple updates. I've kind of done it as a story map. So, yeah, I'm going to just scroll through this. I talked about how the sport is growing and gave some statistics on all that. And at the end of this presentation, there's still that QR code that if you guys want to take a picture of, you can do that, and I can send the link to Roger, and he can pass it out to the board. So if you want to review this in more detail, you can. Couple updates, though. I want to mention that we are very close to getting our 501c3 status. We submitted all the paperwork to the state, and
The state offends everybody's, we're approved as a business in the state of Montana as a nonprofit. They understand that's our articles of incorporation, and then the application is in at the federal level, and I haven't actually looked at that email this week because I just got home from a work trip, but it probably is sitting in there.
Yep. And the reason we pursued this is really we actually have donors in the waiting, that want to contribute to our organization, and, we just want to make sure we do it right and have the right structure set in place. So this is a quick picture of the, kind of the existing course. Again, it's 9 holes, it's kind of spread throughout the whole park. We've leveraged the best we can to take advantage of those unused spaces within the park. But what we'd like to do is continue to build on that, because we think there's some more spaces to be had. So I'm gonna scroll and focus on this for right now. So I'm gonna kind of lead you through this a little bit hole by hole, but I'll go pretty quickly here. So starting here, can anyone see my cursor?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is hole number 1. There would be no changes to hole number 1. It's kind of the front side along the hillside. Hole number 2, we've decided to try to move the basket a little bit away from the soccer field to avoid any conflicts with flying disc and people. We generally don't play that hole when there is soccer events taking place, but in the, event there are some people on the field, we want to move the hole a little bit farther away to avoid any potential errant disc throwing. Hole number 3 kind of goes in the old memorial area. That has not changed. Hole number 4, same thing. That has not changed. Hole number 5 is kind of a new hole. It's one of our additions, and we'd like to leverage a new hole at this location, and then step over to 6 and do a hole number 6. All these remain on the 6, and we'll continue around number 7, just like we did. We're going to circle the whole soccer field if we can. Now you see a couple holes down that go down towards the creek. That's A, B, and C. Those are like an alternate, like 5, 6, 7. So one of the requests we had was for people to go back down the creek. We used to have a hole down by the creek. It was a great hole, but we had to remove it because it was causing a lot of erosion. People were going straight down the hill. And so we've tried to design this so we take advantage of some of the paths that are already going down there. Luke, your bike paths that you worked on, hopefully they would be kind of travel paths.
Absolutely.
Down to the hole, if we can. So we're trying to, again, trying to minimize erosion on that hillside. It's a sensitive area, we realize that. And then just trying to bring it back up and around. But at least people can go down and go by the creek, get in the shade, water the dogs, whatever they need to do. But that's an alternate, A, B, C. But we'd like to fit that in there as well. Hole number 7 would remain the same. Hole number 8 would pretty much would remain the same. However, we'd like to move the tee box away from that discus and shot putting platform that the school put in. A thing that we need to be cognizant of, and I think the park board does as well, is where that lease boundary is with the school. I've got some old maps that kind of show that northern border, but I think we're encroaching on it as disc golfers, and they may be encroaching a little bit into the park space as well with some of their sporting events. So I think, future work needs to be done on behalf of the city and the school to work together to know where we know where that boundary really exists. But we're sensitive to it, and we know that it does exist. So hole number 9 would finish up, and I think this is one of those holes that is on school property. Kids love that hole. They painted it blue and gold, so hopefully they'll be okay with that. And then that kind of completes that first round, that 9 holes, like you see in links golf. And then the back 9 would take place on this spot here, the little wedge piece, which I know is under some investigation for new facilities, but we'd like to keep it there if at all possible. 11 would remain the same. Hole number 12 would be a new hole, kind of in that forested area back there, which really isn't used by anyone. We'd like to clear out a path and have a little disc basket or disc hole along there. Hole number 13, we'd start down by the Northwestern Energy facility and throw up the hill. One thing I'll note on that Northwestern facility, they've got a lot of their materials, the trailer and excess pipes and things like that are well outside their boundary. I just want you to know that it's sitting on parkland. Are you aware of that? Because it really has to be moved so that we as park users can leverage that space a little bit.
Tom, sorry, which hole did you say?
It's hole, well, what would be the new hole number 13. It does not yet exist. We would like to do that. So maybe a gentle ask to Mike Smith and Northwestern Energy to see if that could be moved elsewhere. So
It's directly to the south of their infrastructure there.
I know cadastral lies, but as I go in and look at the lines on cadastral, that actually shows them as their property is well beyond their pavement, all the way back to almost the road.
Right.
So like your 13 shows up as the number 13 is like the back edge of that property.
We believe they have room to the east. If they would take that from the south and put it on the east edge along the flat ground, I think they would be within their actual ownership. They have a parcel in the park, if you don't know that. It's 110 by 90 foot by 110 90, the rectangle, and it's their land. So we just have to be sensitive to that as well. And then we try to take advantage of some of this corner in the kind of the northwestern part of the park, which, again, nobody really uses, hole number 14, 15. We produced a new tee box on hole number 16 now that the fence has been moved from the Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary. And we would come back there, stop at 16, then we have to walk through the two fields. Hole number 17 is kind of a neat one. It's a little bit narrow, but we believe that we could fit a hole between kind of the parking lot and the borderline of the softball field. Of course, both those sides would be OB for us, so would deter people from throwing hard and errant in those areas. But and then 18, we would just walk across the road and throw down kind of from the parking lot area, right on the edge of the parking lot, back to those big, huge boulders there. What's nice about that is that we start and end in the same place. Right now, we don't really do that, but there's a long walk back. And so this would be a nice kind of circular route. There is flow to be considered with any, as you imagine, whether it's links golf or disc golf. You want to just keep on moving to the next hole and hopefully end up in a nice big circle. The one other thing I would say, we see this space in here as not very well planned out. We don't know what the plan is. They've tried to mount it up a little bit to avoid some of the drainage issues in that area, and they replaced the two monuments that are there. We would like to consider putting a practice basket there as well, just so people can putt prior to going out on the course. So if that's a consideration, I don't know what the plans are. It seems somewhat haphazard at this point. They just place them there. I don't know if they're putting the flagpole back or anything, but that area was never really well designed, not well maintained. So maybe we can do something collaboratively to make it a nice spot.
Tom, I'm sorry, can you just use your cursor to point that area out again for me? Sorry.
It's just big circle.
It's like
Okay.
a roundabout in front of
Got it. I was taking notes. Thank you.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of the entrance into the park. I think it should be nice, and it should be given some thought as to how you guys would like to see it.
And I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole just a little bit here, but other priorities for us are things like bicycle parking over there, supporting and updating the signs, which I know is an ask that the park needs to have done anyway. So there's some opportunities to help the park outside of disc golf, just period, grow the park so that anybody using it, from hikers to people riding down there to play soccer, have a little bit more infrastructure to work with us doing the work.
So we'd like to grow to 18 holes. We'd like to replace all the baskets to make them kind of uniform and kind of tournament ready, I guess. The old baskets that were manufactured by the high school shop class are a little bit out of standard. They don't meet today's disc golf standard in terms of number of chains and things like that. So Mike was gracious enough to take some of his leftover park board money this year, $4,000, and allowed us to purchase 9 baskets. We think with other donations and business sponsorships, we can get the other 9 holes to fill out the 18. And there's a couple new baskets up there that we take advantage of as well. The picture you see here is one of our prototype tee boxes that we built on number 10. This is what we'd like to try to replace it with. Right now, they're just dirt surfaces, and all the dirt's been kicked out, so they're kind of a canoe. But now we'd like to produce those with some really nice paver boxes if possible. So we created one out there just so people can see the design. So where are we at? I guess, it was told to us that we should work with the Parks Board and the City of Red Lodge, make sure that, if we do this, we do it right, we do it with your blessing, and, we make the park a better place and a nice facility to play in. Just a quick, just about I updated some stats for this year. This is just an interesting one though. So this shows recreational hours for the last 3 years, 23, 24, and 25. And in 2023, that red line, the white line is last year, 2024, which were pretty consistent. And then in 2025 is this blue line. We've seen a big bump. And I think we're going to continue to see that. I think we've been underestimating the number of users out there. The way we collect this information is people log into this UDisc app, and they say, I'm playing these holes, and they keep their score on the app. And we've been really promoting that, and I think that's partially why we're seeing that little bump. But I think that blue line is probably more representative of the true usage of disc golf in the park. So 716 hours for those 3 years of almost 700 different rounds. 215 unique players. These are some survey results. We talked about that. Again, what we see as the next step, we could, I think, have designed a nice course that, you know, can coexist with some of the other uses in the park. And really, I guess we would just want to, with your, you know, blessing to move forward with safety and hold sign. Ann Rude was able to come out with us kind of with a walkthrough. We'd offer that to anyone else who'd like to do that, show you kind of right where we're talking about placing these baskets if that map doesn't make sense to you. So if you'd like that, we're happy to offer that walkthrough with you guys. And then funding, yeah, we've got some from the Parks Board. We may ask again for some additional next year, as the next fiscal year budget. But we're also, like I said, trying to get grants and sponsorships as well. And then we're going to provide all the volunteer labor to install these facilities. Unless we'll play. I've modified the budget a little bit. It's gone up, mainly because we're talking with all the disc golf users. We really decided we want to replace all the baskets. The current baskets are insufficient, and we're going to purchase the full 18 at a cost of about $450 a piece. Tee boxes are a little bit more expensive. After we did that prototype, we got a better cost estimate on that now. So we're looking at between $13,000 and $15,000 to do the whole design. Again, collaborative funding to accomplish this. And that's really all I have. So there's the, if you want to review this anymore, there's a QR code. I'll send out the link to Roger, and hopefully he can forward it to everyone on the Parks Board. But this should be mobile friendly, and you can do it at your leisure.
I would say any of us in the back row here, but Tom or I particularly are happy to go walk out and show the land, talk about the plans, how we pay for stuff, and what other improvements that the disc golf community has asked for that supports the entire park. So things like being responsible for maybe a rubbish bin, thinking about how to keep a porta potty out there. I mean, some of the basics that just make the park more usable for everybody is something that the disc golf community has asked for, and we will find a way to make happen. Those are all. And we're meeting monthly, the second Wednesday of every month. So if somebody wants to sit in or attend a meeting and understand what we're doing, we are also doing league play every Thursday night down there beginning tomorrow night. So if you want to know what's it like, that would be pretty exciting round of disc golf. But you're welcome to come down and understand what's going on, who all is there, but it's regularly.
What time's that at?
We'll start at 6:30, kind of gather at 6:30, I think, and start from this by 7.
And the Wednesday night meeting is at the park?
We kind of bounce it around,
Okay.
but because it's been cold enough and sometimes dark, we've been meeting since, December, I think, so it's not just been a thrown together project. And it has been at Folos, or at the Community Foundation, but if you ping one of us ahead of time, and I'd like to come to a meeting, I'll tell you where it is. Okay.
Nice work.
Do you guys have any questions? Or?
Do you guys have a MOU? I don't know if it's needed or if it exists. I'm
I
just,
thought they did.
I think there is.
Probably found it
Okay.
last week,
No,
or
Red
last
Lodge
month.
Disc Golf.
Remember?
The new organization doesn't have an MOU. Correct.
but Red Lodge Disc Golf does?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The original group had some kind of MOU, but that was before they were formally.
Okay.
So
We're
if
we're
that-
happy to review it
Yeah.
and establish a
Okay.
or revise it.
Cool.
that needs done, I'm happy to do it.
And then, this is me, just lack of experience. Does the Parks Board need to vote first before you can take it to the city? Or have you guys taken it to the city and gotten approval and us first and then, okay,
We wanted to work through the body that,
yeah, okay.
you know, with your permission, may we take it to the city with your endorsement, ideally.
Can I make a motion?
Go for it.
Or do we need,
I got more questions.
okay, go for it.
I gotta admit, looking at that chart, I'm most excited about hole A, B, and C down that hill. I think that would work perfect with the existing trails. You know, I think we've solved the, desire to just cut straight down that thing, and now the trails are nice. So I don't see like how there'd be any worse impact. In fact, those trails need more feet on them, so we don't have to do as much work to keep them weed-free. Does that make sense? So that makes me excited. What would those holes be? Would those be holes like 19, 20, 21, or?
It'd be A, B, and C, so.
Okay, so they
At
wouldn't,
that point, you can choose to stay on top and take the more, I would say, the easier route.
mhm,
For those that want a little bit more challenge, or
Mhm.
just wanna, like I say, go enjoy the creek side.
yeah, lose the disc in the
They
grass.
can go down and play those 3 holes.
Okay.
And they both kinda end up back to the same spot.
Yeah.
Hole number 7, I believe.
You come back up like the access road below the shot put area, is that how you kind of work your way back up?
Yeah.
Okay,
So the alternate route is a choose your own adventure. It's not a, if these 3 holes don't work, then we're putting it here.
Correct, yeah.
yeah,
Hopefully it's just alternate holes. And you see this a lot on the golf courses.
if,
Or if there's a spot, if there is a big event taking place on there, that would allow them to kind of reroute and circumvent the event.
yeah,
That would just, and we have the ability in UDISC to actually make a recommended, make recommended courses. So we might have a course that's like soccer night course and actually not even show
Hmm.
holes 1, 2, and 3, for example. We just push people to start at 4 and stay out of that whole entire circle. So there's ways with the technology to actually help people understand how to play and where the holes are and then what's the optimal way to do it.
On that, and I don't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
I'm just gonna throw this out there real quick, because that's something that we've been tossing around. I think it would be really, really helpful if we had some sort of calendar of events that would exist specifically for Coal Miners Park, but it'd be nice to have for the whole park system. There was a huge soccer event taking place last Saturday. And it'd be nice for people to see that, hey, you know, maybe that's not the best day to go play disc golf up there, or wait till it's over. And we would do the same. If we have tournaments up there, we could put it on the calendar. So just a recommendation for you guys in the future to think about some sort of calendar event for all your parks.
Something like what Red Lodge Area Community Foundation does makes a pretty easy way. You could make a meeting space, in air quotes, for each park, and then just have people, one person could probably moderate it fairly simply, but then you would have an idea when there's softball games going on, we could direct community members and visitors there to know what's happening at the zoo,
cool.
so to speak.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you for answering that, that's great. So the tennis people, it's looking like it's high chance that they're gonna use that as you get up to the, you know, hole 10, basically. That whole corner will be how big? How big's the tennis pad gonna be right there on the corner of the main road? And
It's pretty close by the time they get the land and stuff.
can you bring up that picture again?
I can show it, he's,
Yeah, sorry, I already watched.
Okay.
he logged out, but I took a snapshot of what you're looking at, I think I can.
So, and I don't think anything's set in stone yet for anything in that regards, but I think it'd be prudent to have like a backup plan for hole 10.
Okay.
I know it's disappointing, but
Well,
right now here, Tom, I'll show you what we've been talking about.
I know exactly.
You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the tennis court essentially is this entire chunk. Is that correct?
May not take the entire.
We've got a
Yeah.
picture of it where they've overlaid 4 courts onto it, so.
Mike did that.
Would it be problematic to, have the tee box working north?
Yeah.
I mean, we can probably find a way, but it's not ideal. Again, the flow thing is pretty important to us, and we'd like to do that.
It's also From the disc golf community perspective, it's one of our favorite holes on the course, and I'm not trying to whip anybody, it's just,
No.
it's,
It's one of mine
there's
too.
trees, there's a downhill slope,
Yeah.
it's a cool spot to be,
Mhm.
like, there's a lot of reasons to leave it there, but it's, we understand being, for lack of a better way to describe it, community players, team players, and figure out how to work together. But in the grand scheme of things, is that, you know, highest and best use of that chunk of parkland.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you, and a little bit of a history lesson. First off, is this a dedicated park?
There are portions of it that are dedicated, and then there's, you referenced the line that's down there. So this part right here is probably gonna end up getting leased to the school. So it's actually not even gonna be part of that same area anymore, and it is not part of the park right now.
Okay. If you can, I would like to see an actual dedicated park boundary, because my understanding is that at least a portion of that is not in the city park,
At least a portion of,
this area.
I think none of this is city park down here.
It may not be.
Yeah,
And I'll give you the history behind that, is because when Forrest Anderson was city planner, and they built this road here for Cabin to Cooper, he was adamant that that not be part of the park, because that was lost income to the city. The hookups, sanitary sewer, water, and the revenue that it would generate, he was adamant that that would not be part of the park because of that potential lost revenue. So I find it kind of funny that you're even considering taking all that revenue out. I mean, the thought process, the philosophy has changed 180 degrees.
well, there's still planning stuff behind that that's like taxable, stuff that's taxable, but it's like, but if we owned it at that point, we'd have to lease it out to somebody to build on it, because we do have spots like that we're looking at too.
Yeah.
So if
I
it's,
mean-
are you saying the city own, is that what
It's
I'm
still
hearing?
city-owned
Yeah,
land.
this
It's just
is
not
city-owned
dedicated
land.
park.
And I'm
believe-
trying to think if this is one of them that we've actually found the dedication for the park, because we have a lot of parks that actually aren't dedicated to.
I was actually going through the records, and I could not find coal miners, so.
I'm not completely sure that any of it is a dedicated park.
I also don't think Forrest wanted to keep this portion, along Hagan Avenue as out as well, because he thought that had some development potential and shouldn't be.
I
Constrained by
think
park.
your 13 is gonna end up switching here, just because that way it's all on city land, not across private property, because there's a thin streak here that is city land, but like their property comes out like right here, is, like my arrow is parked on, according to Cadastral, which Cadastral wise,
Right.
where my arrow is
We go around
northwest, yeah.
We go around that.
So why would that be leased to the school?
Well, if the tennis courts go there, because they're gonna be responsible for maintaining it and funding and stuff.
Well, I liked your idea
Sure.
of putting them up by the airport, kind of across from the dog park, you know,
Okay.
and that flat.
That's not city-owned land right now.
Oh, it's
If
not?
somebody wants to buy it, I have no objection to
The
it.
city does, why does, I thought the
Wasn't
city
that
owned
like
all
10
of that
cents
land up there.
Nope.
Isn't it
What-
super cheap?
So we've been through about a 9-month process of looking at sites all around, including
Yeah,
mayor
we-
and the
we-
parks board.
Yeah.
And there is not other suitable land except for purchasing
Yeah.
there.
Oh, okay. I
So
thought
there's a
we,
long history, and I can fill you in if you want.
I thought the city leased some land up there for $1 for the county, for parking.
Yeah, I heard something too.
No, there's stuff west of the airport that is city-owned land, but that's not gonna change from its current use, because otherwise you're getting rid of 4th of July and several other events in Red Lodge. The stuff that's north of the highway is not city-owned land.
And what about up by the Lutheran church? Didn't they offer?
That's, again, privately owned, and they've talked about it, and then they backed off of it and said, no, they had,
You mentioned the areas where the helicopters land previously.
we looked at some spots right on the airport, and those got in the way with emergency services, because you never know when you're gonna need to do what. So basically, inside of the road, we're avoiding. Across the road, there's a piece of land that is city land, but going back to highest and best use, can we put housing there, can we put other things? As I said, it's not a done discussion, but all the conversations thus far have pointed out, and so it's like, is it 4 courts that the school can use for tennis, or is it 1 hole of an 21-hole disc golf course? And to me, 1 hole of a 21 disc golf course doesn't preempt 4 tennis courts, but that's.
also a beautiful area to picnic and wait.
That we
for
also
the
just
softball
planted trees in.
Yeah.
And all those trees are dying because they're planted in close line. and it turns out they
They're
don't
all
like that.
alive.
There,
Are they? We've-
There's a
Yep.
tree.
Yeah, I heard they were all.
Really,
An
really,
arborist,
all 4 out.
They're all alive.
I don't understand if it's not dedicated park space, do we even have I don't want the tennis courts to go there. I'm being totally honest right now. I would love to see it stay green space. I would love to see it disc golf. But if it's not dedicated park space, then do we even have a say in that? Is it, like, we can say, yes, go ahead and pursue your course, or we would like to see that expanded, but then is it really a city issue that you're running up against at that point?
I think I think the Parks Board still has an input about, here's a recommendation about how to use parks, or here's what's nice.
But if
to
it's
do.
not actually dedicated,
Parkland.
do we really have authority to say or vote on that?
To
I
an
guess I'm
input?
just trying to understand.
I don't think it's not.
Okay, great.
Because like, for instance, Van Dyke Park wasn't a park 5 years ago.
Okay, cool.
And I would think that would have gone through Parks Board, and Parks Board says, yes, we'd like to do that, and yes, we'd like to see that become something else. So I think that's an advantage, I think it's a valid input.
Okay.
It's ultimately council's decision, it's not my decision either, what I think doesn't matter.
It would be nice to see the overlay and to talk about, in the event that it's decided that that's the best spot, how do we play together? Like,
Yep.
there are ways to design holes that have a dog leg in them, there are ways to work together to have it be a space that we can both use, but it takes this conversation and a willingness to
And I think,
shuffle a little and some of that, and think about, like, I mean, honestly, I get that it's the high school kids are valuable, but they're the hours of recreational use that walks through that space versus the high school usership, and I am a high school athlete, so, from a very small town, so I realize just the red face test of saying what I'm going to say. But the community use of that space, albeit not measured, might outweigh a seasonal use for a tennis court, specifically for the high school. It's just my opinion.
I think this is one of those areas where we're probably gonna end up setting up a smaller committee that just figures out how do we get the multiple use, because you've got soccer, you've got baseball, you've got disc golf,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
this is you wanna talk about a lot of uses jammed into one space?
Right.
This is our number one space that we're trying to use for 47 different things.
So, to that note, thank you for letting us have the conversation, bring it to the table, and I think the biggest piece is that we keep talking and figuring out, but can we at least move forward with what we know? It's gonna take a little bit for us to get everything, like, completely dialed. And the one good news story is, unless we go in and put the full paver system in that corner, it's pretty mobile.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, you're not building with uranium, so it could be something now and then become something else in a couple of years
And
from now too.
my question is, like, how far out are we talking about the tennis court construction even starting? Is this like, honestly, is it?
Well, we need to get our concept plan, and that's when we can work with that
Right.
space and say, how do we accommodate
But it's
these
even,
uses?
I don't think it's gonna be built in the next 2 years.
Three years.
Yeah.
so realistically, we have an opportunity to use the space, do what we've been doing, improve the whole, and work, as we go down the road, then maybe we need to tweak that, or maybe it's not even gonna get close to the corner when it's finished and we find a way to throw around it and just don't lock the gate like
Yeah.
we do at the college, so I lose my disc inside the gate.
So you're saying you could put a throwing pad, and would you be using the existing basket that's already in the same spot for hole 10, just with a new one?
Yep.
It'd be worth it to you guys to make it all brand new like you're proposing, and then 2 years from now, if it has to get moved, it's still worth it to have gotten 2 years of use out of it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is a pretty mobile spot
We
to
can also reuse everything that we use to build it right now.
move it.
Yeah.
We just move
The
it.
pavers are,
Relocate it.
Yeah.
pavers and sand and gravel, so it's
Okay.
not as if we're going into
Yeah.
concrete and a lot of, like, and the nice thing is that we can, if that's what it comes down
Okay.
to, and
Yeah,
right.
okay, it is a mobile facility for the most part. However, I'm gonna go back to the design, the flow, and the fact that we've already done this 2 times already, trying to accommodate soccer fields and everything. I mean, at some point, it gets a little bit old, and we're gonna get on our heels of our feet a little bit, and, and just say, hey, come on, look, we're tired of keep adjusting our facility, so. But, we're still willing to work with people as best we can.
I may have missed this, I walked in a little bit late. Is there a reason that's already been discussed that the tennis courts can't go into the parking lot area where it's already flat?
They looked
Yeah.
at that, and part of it is because that parking lot does get filled multiple times throughout the year in events with
It
baseball
does,
and
but pretty
soccer and-
haphazardly. I think if it was just even
Well, and then-
slightly organized.
Yeah, they're still working on making sure it's not the secondary swimming pool.
Right, I
And
totally
some
understand
progress was
that.
made last year, and there's still a lot of work to be done this year, too.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a
whole lot
high
less
school
dirt has to move to make
parking
that
lot.
happen than the tennis courts there, though.
Right,
So
no,
why are people
that's-
parking in the community parking if there's
Yeah.
high school parking?
If that much parking was lost out of the parking lot, then this space,
Mhm.
with your hole on it, would end up needing to be turned into parking.
And now we're back to, like I said, we've got a lot of use, everything from high school overflow,
Yeah.
soccer, baseball. This is activity central in Red Lodge,
It is.
as far as
And
in
that's a
town
cool
goes.
thing.
Well,
That's
and my
what
understanding is that the tennis courts would be available for people to use.
Yep, they're
Not-
community.
Like
Not
they
just
are.
high school.
Yeah.
So they're open to the public, like field school is now, so,
Or will be.
yeah.
Yeah, Mike Maples, what's your name, sir?
Devin.
Devin, yeah, I'm Luke. So I asked him the same thing. I'm like, why do we not just, because I went and stood at those cabins,
Mhm.
and I was picturing what that retaining wall in front of those guys' house is gonna look with that tennis court.
Mhm.
And they're gonna have something to say about it, I guarantee it, because it's gonna be like 12 feet tall, because it is a large drop.
So why are you making that assumption?
No, what, I'm assuming it's gonna be flat from the top corner.
Well,
Right.
it might not be accurate.
Okay. Well, I guess because it gets dug into the earth.
We're trying to get the concept
Yeah.
done, so we can answer those.
Yeah, I feel like it's reasonable to think there's gonna be a retaining wall right there, because the drop is about 15 to 20 feet.
Mhm.
So that's just a reasonable assumption of some type, unless they dig into the earth, but I don't think anybody wants that either. So I asked, hey, why can't we just stick it in the parking lot? But when you look at it in the parking lot, it takes up a massive amount of that parking lot. Essentially, all the space right now that has the dirt and the equipment. Like, the idea is someday that's gonna go away and we have a nice parking lot back, and there's like 80 things that are going on all at once at certain times. So I agree that parking lot's gonna get slammed. And with that tennis court there, it looked in the picture, just anecdotally, like almost, I'd say, a half of the parking lot of the prime spaces that'll be against that hill. So,
Just have it, okay, just
yeah,
Going back to the,
shoot
to
it
the
on
9
this
months.
picture. If it's half the parking lot, then there's no way you're fitting it right there.
I mean,
Just look at the parking lot.
Yeah.
It's 3 times as big as that square space is.
that space is actually pretty large.
Let's not revisit 9 months of, because I said, there have been
Yeah.
overlays where they put those 4 there, they put them in the parking lot, they put them up by the airport, across the street from the airport by the Lutheran church. All the ideas that are being mentioned are all great ideas and all being discovered. It's kind of a flashback for when we did the pool. We had
Yeah.
version A, version B, and version C of the pool, and there came a point when we said, stake in the ground, let's start moving forward. I don't think we're done here yet.
No.
But I do think we're to the point that that people are moving forward, engaging in engineering plans and coming back and saying, this is what it looks like, and
Oh.
yes, it's feasible, no, it's not feasible.
Well,
Yeah.
and for our intent tonight, it's not to solve for the tennis courts, it's to vote on whether or not we support you guys bringing this to the city. So I would like to make a motion that, yes, I support you guys bringing this to the city.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded.
Go ahead. Aye.
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 So what does that look like from here? Do we put forth a request to be on the?
Thank you,
Thank you.
Barb.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Barb.
Yeah, I would say land use and planning, the committee agenda,
Go through the subcommittee first?
yeah, the subcommittee first.
Okay.
And I was gonna,
Are we ready to go?
just for the record, that is at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays.
We don't need to,
Yeah.
unless somebody has a question or wants. Agreed.
Oh, no, not 10, when's land use and planning?
10 a.m. on Tuesdays.
I guess I'm not on that committee, sorry, I'm not on that committee.
Are we
But
too
you
short
can
a notice
attend.
to get on the agenda for the
No.
next one?
Nope,
No, I think you're fine.
I can put you on it right now.
Be great.
So next Tuesday, the 10th?
Mhm.
It's here, yeah.
And then we'd address any concerns they may have, and then with the park board recommendation and kind of a thumbs up from the land use committee, we can then approach city council.
Then they will be who puts together a resolution to come to council and stuff, so they will work through that.
The resolution.
They
Who's
say,
the
yes,
chairman of that committee, I forget. Is it Jody?
I don't have that information right, I can dig it, but I would say show up there the first time and find out what the temperature is.
Because, I'm okay with doing this, Mayor, I'm just kind of curious, where do you draw the line in terms of like this process where you gotta go through a body like this to a subcommittee, to city council? I mean,
So I can actually answer that. So,
baseball do that with their?
so if the use of the land is gonna change from what it is to something else, then it goes to council. That's council's purview.
Okay, so the city council approved the batting cage behind the shed because that was a change in land use. It was vacant and now it's not. I mean, I'm just asking,
Yeah.
because I want this process to be fair, I want it to be consistent. And I feel like sometimes things are ramrodded through and suddenly it shows up in our parks. And it's like, how did this get here without due diligence and the input? And other times, we're trying to follow the.
And that process is still being worked on separately for exactly the reason you talked about. So I'll give you an example. The trees up in Van Dyke went to council, got approved, but that went to council because that was something that was set aside as open space, and they're saying this is changing that. So that is, and to your point, there's a couple of the things that have been rammed through that we said, no, we gotta fix this process. So that process is still being separate, but we're doing our best to abide by that process, even if it's not fully defined yet.
Like I said, we'll do what we were told to do. I just would like to see consistency.
Oh, Tom, that's all the more reason for an ad hoc committee for that whole area.
Pardon?
Oh, we need an ad hoc committee for that whole area,
Yeah.
because there's too much going on, and things just people have to know what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
Well, but, and
With a
everyone needs to
mediator.
be taken
Yeah.
as seriously as the next. I think that's what I feel
Yeah,
frustrated about.
And
Yeah,
that's called
same.
being fair,
Right.
Yeah.
so, I agree.
And, and I think this this highlights a little bit of the need for maybe some additional park space. I mean, most of our parks are pretty well developed, they've got defined uses. What we're lacking are those big open parks, so open space bonds, something to that effect, to give us a little bit more breathing room for these kind of
Exactly.
more unstructured, type of activities. I know that's way out there too, but not, you guys should be looking at stuff. Where's the next big chunk of ground we could leverage?
Thanks,
Anyway,
Tom.
thank you very much.
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thanks, Tom, appreciate it.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Greg.
And questions anytime, I know several of you know how to find me. If you don't, ask somebody else, if they know how to find me.
We stopped you.
And if you can't find them, drive up there. Very frequently, there's people up there.
Good chance to find us,
Playing.
yeah.
One of us will be up there.
I've seen both of these funny looking dudes on the
Oh,
end
yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Going up there right after this.
All right, next up is,
Thank you, guys.
parks projects and budget update.
Tell him don't leave yet.
And that was Mike Naples.
Yeah, I make a motion that we just put this into the record unless anybody has questions or, wants to make a comment about it. We all saw it. I think he emailed it, so we can attach it or however or print it, or I don't know, whatever, open it. Everybody think that's okay?
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Unless we, I don't think I have any questions.
Is that four? or
We
five
nailed down
items?
the Arbor Day and,
Is that a vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
All right.
We're doing really good tonight.
A lot of discussion, nobody-
And
no
they
ayes.
were-
Squared away.
Thank you.
It's like little
Don't
eyes
judge us,
popping.
Mayor.
You're doing great, by the way, Rod.
and 7 got
I thought that was a
tabled.
good discussion.
It was good.
I thought that was a really good discussion we just had.
All right.
It's a thorny issue.
I mean,
The
yeah, I'm
bylaws
gonna
have
talk
been
about it.
moved, park owner and ambassador reports.
Well, I'd like to start because I have a confession to make. I haven't picked my park yet. And I always talk about the dog park because I go there, but is there a park that has not been assigned?
I think I'm gonna maybe take over Lions in partnership with Madeline, if you wanna take the dog park.
I would love to do the dog
And I was
park.
kind of overseeing Pride, but I didn't really do
And-
much, so if you wanna take both.
I was walking around Finn Park yesterday. Has Finn Park been assigned?
Roger has that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm, just to say, Willie mowed today, and it's just gorgeous. It's so green and beautiful, and I'm gonna take my weed eater over there and trim it up a little bit, and I dragged the the poop garbage can out. And, if anyone who uses it, I don't think it's for users to pull, it's out there, but I pulled it out, and I'll pull it back in, or somebody else is up there, just pull it back in tomorrow. I think they pick it up tomorrow. It was really heavy. It's smelly.
And I actually saw some garbage in it, which surprises me why
I
people
don't
would
look
do
that
that,
long,
but.
Dave, I just feel like.
Too stinky.
Well, I think that it was one of the things that was thrown out there when we put it in there, it's like, why are people bringing their Amazon packaging unless they have
Oh,
like
sure.
extra dog leashes in it or something?
And I need to find a good, cleanser for that, that's, pet friendly, to pour in there with some water and just get it washed out, but, okay, I'll take, is there another park that doesn't have a,
We just kind of had Pride just as partnership with the garden club.
Okay.
So if you want to do that too, again, I didn't do much. I was trying to attend the garden club meetings, but it quickly fizzled.
I'm good with not being on Pride.
Okay.
But,
You have a
the
list?
dog is the only thing that's available?
Yeah.
Then I'll take it.
Question though, do you have any idea of your volunteer hours, Ian?
No,
Okay,
I just go up there and walk around.
we'll keep track of that.
It's Leo's back, that's why I'm.
You should be able to get pretty good hours, because you go up and monitor it for an hour a day.
That's right, and we
Do you have a list of all the parks and who owns them?
Yeah.
Can you read it off to us, real? I've never seen or heard this.
Oh,
Yeah, you have not.
I just know that's like, you're on
Usually-
coal miners with me now.
We were in a really good rhythm of, towards the end of the meeting, everyone would kind of round robin, give an update on the park that they owned. We were sort of gonna reassign, so maybe we push that out to next month too, so we can get the list sent out,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's.
and then
that's a
reassess.
good
Some
way
talk
to do
about
that.
who owns it,
We
et cetera,
can-
et cetera. Cool.
I'm doing field park right
Mhm.
now, and that's where the tennis courts are being
Okay.
renovated. I stopped by there today, it looks like they've got, I didn't know there was a sinkhole in that first court.
They found
And
two,
they've got
right?
that dug up, they were playing in the middle court when I went by. It was interesting,
Jeez,
yeah,
I'm all in.
so they'll be pretty popular when they're done. And then
Did
they
they
could
find the
resurface.
newspapers?
Pardon?
Did they find the
Oh, yeah,
newspapers
that's right.
in the sinkhole?
Mike didn't say in his email.
No,
No, I
it
was-
wasn't,
I
it was just junk in general. So what happened is there's actually that's actually the old field school.
Right?
And so they found the walls of it, and it was just junk inside, but junk settles over time.
So they did dig some junk out of there?
I believe so.
Yeah, I missed the digging part of it.
So can we get that on the agenda for July then?
Yeah,
To go through the list, everyone's up to date, and we'll shuffle the board if we need to?
yeah.
Awesome. Can we also talk about like what it means to be a park owner? That's it, yeah, you know, I can make some
For clarity.
assumptions. Yeah, just
Called
like
it
what,
an ambassador, not an owner, because we had some high school kids who
Okay.
volunteered, and it was like, oh, let's not get too carried away with the owner.
that's true. Good point.
Pretty much condition of.
Okay. All right,
Yes, I think we should talk about that.
just quick
Yeah.
discussion.
We've never really defined.
Make the new people smart.
Put it up on the
Mainly
next agenda.
Is there something the garden club could do for you to make it easier? Since
Um,
you can't come to the meeting?
No, I mean, I think you guys do a great job. I don't know that we have any concerns
Okay.
at all, so I don't know.
And
if
most of us
anything.
walk through there quite a bit.
Yeah, it was mainly just, I was also interested too,
Sure.
so,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Would you like to get our minutes?
Well,
Are you-
I'm on, what's her name, that sends them out, yeah, Sherry's
Okay.
email, so maybe that's
Okay,
enough,
okay.
yeah.
Well, let us know.
Okay,
I mean, if we
thanks.
can do
Yeah,
something
thank
to
you.
make it easier for
I
you.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is there any other update on the
I'll
dog
just
park
say,
right now?
Van Dyke is looking nice with all the wildflowers, so get up there and check it out.
Did anybody do anything with, where the, power lines rip things up?
You know, it's filling in really nicely with native grass, other wildflowers. I've seen some arrowleaf balsam root in
Really?
there, more than I've seen. So I think it's okay. I don't, you know, there's some dandelions. I think the cheatgrass bit the dust, fortunately. It would already be up if it was going to come up. So,
Dave, you were gonna talk to Mike Smith or something.
Yeah, and so Mike was following, one of the things that came back is that there's always gonna be a road still along there to access all those poles and get back there. There's always gonna be like
Exactly.
a two-track.
we're not saying to take the road out, we're saying to take the ruts
Fix the
out of
rut.
the path.
But you're saying it's not bad, no?
No, down at the south end where they were really, putting in those 3 poles at the end and connecting from down below. It looks pretty good, I have to
It's
say.
their responsibility to restore it back the way it was before they made those ruts. They got some work to do, that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, but
I
it's been,
walk and run up there on a regular
I know,
basis, and
and-
it is a swimming hole where
So
they.
Mike
Thank
still needs
you.
to be talked to.
Yeah, well, I've already talked to him, so I haven't had a follow-up to see.
every
park is that?
meeting I say
Cool.
something.
Van Dyke.
It is bad,
Hmm.
and, if Northwestern's not gonna do it, then it just needs to get done somehow.
There
I
should
mean-
be a gate put in there, if
Yes,
you're gonna use it, the fence
exactly.
is cut, other people
Well, we have
will
two
drive in.
occasions to talk to Northwestern for the disc golf problem, and then this problem. I think we should just get on it.
Mike's gonna be a
You
popular
volunteer.
guy.
Sure.
She's city
I'm
council
not sure exactly where the problem is, but somebody can show that to me.
Okay.
in Van Dyke.
Yeah, someone can show it.
Oh,
Anything else
Or
on the
yes,
dog
oh,
park,
okay.
Sarah?
No.
And, you know, anecdotally, people park where that cut is in the fence.
Okay.
Because they don't, there's nothing to say they shouldn't park there.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's frustrating to bring it up at every meeting and nothing happens.
That's all the park owners.
I've got a couple.
For coal?
Yeah, I've got,
Cool.
Beth brought me on for coal miners. So Beartooth Trail stuff, they started up there in town, which everybody knows I'm on the board with those guys too. So they started up their, Trail Work Tuesdays they do it from 5 to 8 on Tuesdays. And the first 4 are in town, they did coal miners last week, and I was there for that, we had 12 people for 3 hours. And, they weed whacked, raked, and by the time I got out of there, coal miners was the best it's looked in like 3 years. It turned out great. I don't know what this winter did, but there wasn't as much of a mat of weeds, et cetera, like normal. And then they, did some weed mitigation, a few days later. So that park, as far as just being at a baseline level of use right now, we didn't rebuild any jumped or anything yet, because that's all part of that pump track project, but just getting it up and running. And I'm just talking soccer field, the trails in the front and the back down to the river, that dirt road that's an access road down the backside. That's all been cleaned up, so it looks really good. Yeah, and then, they did, Rotary Park last night, which I'd love to be on that, whoever owns that. That's a big park. I didn't realize how big it
I
was.
think that's Roger too.
Okay, yeah, we can hash that out, but, same thing, there was only 3 people for 3 hours, and, we just weed whacked the whole thing, got all like the benches and the cooking things all weed whacked out and cleaned all the trails up. There are some trails that were kind of, the river must have gotten high, and there was just a bunch of sticks, and a lot of little, people have kind of made natural access spots down the river. So we cleaned up just some obvious ones that seem like, it seems like a logical spot to get down there. It looks great. There's, 2 dead trees. I don't know if we need to write that
The
down.
newly planted,
Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
it's, you know where there's the, as you're driving south out of town, you go across the bridge and you got the rotary on your right. Right before you get to the end, it looks like it used to be like an old RV pad, like you'd pull up next to the RV pay station, and it's like a circle you can drive around. Right in the middle of that, they put a bunch of trees in, and 2 of them are dead.
okay.
They are?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I thought-
Yeah, like 5 are doing great, and 2, they look like they put in like last year or something.
They were
Yeah, they
during
were,
Arbor
and
Day.
so we've had a few of them that are,
Yeah,
just make sure we get I'll get with you afterwards, I'm not sure I'm understanding right where you are.
okay, yeah, I'll tell you exactly where they are. So, they look dead to me, the other ones look a lot better. There's no leaves on them, and I don't know,
I
I'm not an arborist.
They look not the same.
They look not the same. Yeah.
I noticed one dead one, I didn't notice 2, that's a shame.
Yeah. Let's see here, and then, so the next Trail Work Tuesday that you guys are gonna do is Airport Loop.
Oh, good.
Do we kinda, does one of us own that too, like the Airport Loop, that big okay, that's not,
It hasn't been
okay.
designated. That'd be a good one, 'cause
It's big, and
That's
it's a
just
lot of
very
use.
trails, 'cause you guys
Yeah, I
have.
don't
Mhm.
think it's on,
The main thing I noticed is, you know, just weeds and grass in the
Okay.
center of the trail.
That's what we plan on working on, is just basic weed mitigation,
Somebody
cetera.
regraded the trail between the dog park and, the
wow,
rodeo fence.
like some
Yeah, there was
tire
something that
regrading
got
maybe.
it got really messed up after,
Right, detouring,
ski touring, so
yeah.
I
So,
know that was on their to-do list.
oh, so the city did that, okay.
While I'm on it, I probably should have brought this up during the civilian comments, since this is, me operating essentially as a board member for them. They're doing, National Parks Day, National Trails Day is this weekend on Saturday, like all around the US. And so those guys are gonna meet at 8:30 at the ranger station, and everyone's gonna carpool to Palisades Campground, and they're gonna spend all day at Palisades Campground and clean out parts of the campground, mainly just Palisades Trail.
No,
Yeah, so if you know anybody who wants to look for something to do on Saturday, and they wanna go help with trails, that'll be a good one. That trail's in pretty good shape, it just needs to be brushed down the sides, so, yeah.
Allow yourself a little extra time to get there on Saturday, hopefully it won't be a repeat of last year, but there'll still be lots of cars in here.
Oh, boy.
all right.
oh, you mean the Renaissance, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that this weekend?
Oh, my
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, I was like, what are you talking about?
They're,
Yeah.
The highest population in town is this weekend, so.
they're aware.
All right, on to the next item, future agenda items.
Well, I have an idea, but about Tom saying about how we should be looking for more spaces before we don't have space anymore.
Mm.
And I think that's something we could talk about for, you know, put in the agenda for a year and come up with ideas and property and costs but I think that's a great idea for us to look into expanding our parks. Because a lot of our parks are very, very small.
Yeah.
And one idea I have is, you know, that property next to the Lutheran church is empty, and it will always be empty because you can't build there because of the airport. You know, it might be cheap,
Be a good part.
and all the kids, the trail, the population's going that way. I mean, I think it'd be nice if a family could just ride up to that park and play, and not have to go all the way into town to a park, I guess is my point. So, that's just an idea, but I think it's a great idea to start, looking,
I agree.
so.
We're still looking at the Baskin property. property, right?
What?
What's going on up
Yeah.
next door?
That's gonna be, we're hoping, it's out for RFP right now, but apparently it takes them 8 weeks to put it in the paper to come tear it down in 2 days.
What are you talking about, sorry?
The Rocky Fork Inn.
Oh, yeah, oh.
So I anticipate that's something that's gonna be coming in, and this year, it's basically gonna be demolition and probably just back to a native state. There's still gonna be, bank mitigation that happens. I don't know that that's gonna happen this year. And if it would be the end of the year. You don't do that in high water time, and you gotta get the house out of the way first. And then, there's still an unknown because, the application is in for Eagles Nest too. And I think hopefully by the end of this year, we'll find out if that's gonna be available for the city to purchase that.
All really great
Wow.
space.
That'll be awesome.
But I think that park, whether it be Rocky Fork, one of the names that's coming up quite prevalently with the old timers as well as with the family is Uncle Milty's, because he used to have Uncle Milty's down there
Oh, yeah.
in the old time. That to me sounds like kind of a fun name for a park, Uncle Milty's Park. But it's gonna be an open space, right? There's not gonna be anything built in that.
Right.
Because you can't,
Yeah, because we can't put anything there that'll flow downstream.
right?
Not even trees, right?
Just in.
No, I think trees we can do, I don't know. I will find out when we get there.
Along the lines of more park space, Leo and I went to that park behind, the Spires,
Moran?
Moran Park.
Yep.
It's kind of an orphan park, not much going on, but we hung out there for a little bit, and it's,
It's nice.
but a lot of subdivisions now are building parks within their subdivision, which I guess
Yeah.
is the idea
Yeah,
behind
well-
the Spires. But that's something we can take a look at of bringing some energy to that place, because there's really nothing going on. But there is a bridge over to the Spires from the park, but that's the space that's.
So
how do you
Not
get there?
very-
You go turn at Bluebell, and you go to the
What was
end,
the question
and
again?
there's a sign.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really nice space.
It's nice.
For us.
Yeah.
Other
There you
things
go.
can happen, we just don't have a say in that.
There's another one at the end of the golf course up there too, isn't
Yeah,
there?
and there's a subdivision coming in there, so whenever they do that, they have to set 20% aside for parks. And just because it's them setting aside doesn't mean it's not a city park, or it's not the city maintains and owns, but that's where Moran came from.
Okay.
Anything else on that? Anybody?
Yeah, well, and the future agenda items, one of the things that we had talked about, so I had put forth, and this is why I asked Tom to stick around for just a second. We reached back in March, in March, and asked Tom, we had provided a list of parks, to get street addresses for all the parks. And what we haven't done is pulled the park and said, make it so, because we wanted to get basic, and it doesn't need to be an action item, but it was just like, was this board okay with the addresses that were signed? So we shared this with everybody way back when, but here's the list that was there, and then here was a map that kind of showed where they were in there. My recollection is, and I think it was Beth who left, but somebody like Coal Miners is listed as like 1010 Chambers Avenue. Was it, actually, it was you, wasn't it, that, Mary Dale, that drove up there, was trying to figure out where?
It was me.
That's-
I couldn't, it
Oh.
was crazy.
Beth had a question about that
Beth, and I
address.
was texting Beth, but I doesn't make sense up there.
So here's the addresses, and here's the map, and here's the guy who assigned them all for us because we asked him to. We just haven't made them real yet until you guys say, yeah, those look great. And so if you have questions or comments about why, and I said Coal Miners was one, I think, because somebody was trying to drive up 9th or 10th or something, but if you go to the map and look at it, you can kind of get a feel for why that is, but it was like, what was the input from this group? What keeps me from just saying, Tom, make it so?
Beth just had that question about coal miners. I think the other ones were,
Yeah, the only question was Coal Miners address.
That's just the intersection of Second and the street that you take a right to get to high school. It's right there in the middle of that intersection.
That makes
So I think that works. I mean,
sense.
you hit that point, the park's
Actually,
there.
is the table what did it, Tom, or does that just say it's a park? Like your address is not, that's not the anchor where the address was based on?
Yeah, that is the point.
So that is, that
That's what's pulling up for
picnic
me.
is what the
Primary
address.
access point to those parks,
Say again?
primary access point to the park.
So like with coal miners, is it the road right here?
In Chambers, this is Google Maps.
I mean, it could be, that'd still be a chamber
Yeah.
address
That's good
probably.
enough.
Like, this is where you pull up and go
You would
left
see a
over
lot of
Park.
anxious people waiting for the
Yeah,
ambulance to.
where's
that's
yours at? Is that Apple Maps?
That's Chamberlain,
Oh.
yeah. No. Yeah, it is, yeah. it is.
Yeah, so Maris, that's what shows up for me on Google Maps.
So when you put 1010, that's the intercept, yeah. So
That's the
that would be in line with what Tom just said, is it's like the access point of where to get to.
I think that's fine.
Works for me.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
It's central to the majority of the facilities there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is way wrong.
Google Maps.
So can we get a motion on the address?
It doesn't even read a motion, because it really wasn't set up as an action item. I just want the feedback from the board that says, hey, we like it, make it so.
I like it. Make it so.
Yeah, these all seem fine to me.
I second, I like it.
All in favor?
Aye.
How's that?
I feel like.
I will
Meeting
reply
we have all
to Tom Coley's email and say, thank you, make it so.
Thank you,
Thanks
Tom.
for that,
Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
And, you know, that chamber's the one that is hardest is so much part, because Chambers isn't really a straight street.
But it would take you to a spot where if someone called 911,
Somebody just went into Google Maps or,
Beth ended up on the south end of the park.
well,
oh, and that's kind of where it is.
That's
That's,
the southwest corner.
Very south.
so like if I
you
copy
still
that
be on
address,
Chambers, right?
But if it's the primary
Yeah, huge.
access, that, so,
and I just put it in there,
I think that's fine.
that seems like a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
looks
I think
good
it's
to
great.
me.
I think that's fine from both office chambers.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
don't know
Tom?
how you could
Yeah.
put it anywhere
The only thing
else.
that's, as Melissa noted, and I've known it for a long time, the Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary is actually addressed off of Second Street, which never really made sense to me, but,
Huh.
so there's a little bit of inconsistency there. I'd almost rather work with the sanctuary to change their address,
Hmm.
something more appropriate, but.
Because,
We like it.
because
Anything else?
this is Chambers here.
Yeah.
We like it.
Anything else for future agenda items?
I just want to bring up our July meeting date. Did we
Mhm.
reschedule that?
You don't want to do it on the 4th of July?
Well,
It would be the second,
The second,
which is Wednesday.
Roger was talking about.
There's like rodeo going on then, huh?
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
I mean, I'm fine with it on
I'd
the
be-
second. It doesn't, but I know we've moved it in the past, so.
like we had to move it from the 1st of January.
Well, I can come on the ninth.
We could do
if
the
that
9th,
needs
that's
to-
fine.
You know, whatever.
I think I'm around on the 9th.
I can do the
On the
9th.
9th is planning board, so that would be a problem.
Oh, okay.
Second and fourth Tuesday, so.
It had to be a Wednesday.
No.
Mhm. Well.
We've done
according
it
to
on a Thursday before.
the- We've had to
rescheduled
move
it.
it, yeah. We just have to
You,
give enough
you could
notice.
just, yeah, and you're doing it at the second, so that's the kids parade that day, that's not very long. You could move it to the 1st if you want, but I don't think, the second is when it shows up, you said?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think.
The first is bull riding.
I'd say the first or the
I heard.
second.
At
Are you going
5:30.
to all?
At
I hope
5:30.
so. Yeah, I do enjoy them. They're fun. I could Zoom from there. Yeah.
From where?
From the
The
rodeo.
rodeo grounds?
We wanna leave it on the second then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Scott?
Move to adjourn?
I second,
Thanks, everyone. Have a good meeting.
Yeah, awesome, thanks, guys.
which I don't think we
Two people
normally
are gone and we've been like,
I don't think we normally do